have a name for it just yet, but whenever one of these Marvel shows or one of these other shows I really enjoy wraps up, I like to get a kind of a round table and we'll jump in and talk about it. But yeah, we are going to jump into that right now on the high ground. All right. Hello, my beautiful guests. Yeah, I wanted to jump in
way to
here.
lie to us. Way to lie to me immediately.
I can neither confirm nor no. I'm just kidding.
Nor did I.
Turnabout's fair play.
It is.
But yeah, just She-Hulk just wrapped up, and I've been enjoying everyone's coverage of it. Unfortunately, Vegan Super Cake was unable to make it because her son's not feeling well, but she may end up jumping on at some point in the middle here. So we shall see. But yeah, why don't we go around and I'll have you guys start by introducing yourself, so who you are, where we can find your awesome content. And yeah, if you had the option, right? I never thought we would see She-Hulk have a show, right? That feels wild to me. Never thought I'd see Moon Knight have a show. We're doing some wild things here. So if you could greenlight, another obscure hero, who would you pick? So yeah, so who you are, where we can find your stuff, and who would you pick? We'll go to Karis first.
So my name is Karis. You can find me on TikTok and YouTube as well under It's Dainty, ITSDAINTI. And if I had to greenlight one show, I think I would do like a one shot because I feel like it would be fitting the format a little bit better. But I just want something with Awesome Andy and Dr. Samson. I need that so badly. He's such a positive, funny, I know he doesn't have a face, but bright guy. And who doesn't want that, I feel like that's, if you like the Groot special, I feel like that would be a nice, perfect, longer form kind of like special that would have the same feeling, but maybe for the older crowd.
Interesting. Yeah, no, because Awesome Android is like, yeah, no, he's just happy, just a big old block with a smile. I love him.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. How about you, Adam?
Howard the Duck. I want a Howard the Duck reboot.
All right,
and no awkward shower scene. If you never watched it, you don't know. Awkward.
I am shocked that ever existed.
It's Kevin Smith.
Howard the Duck was a client of She-Hulk in the comics, so it's possible.
That's why I brought it up.
Oh, good point. Okay.
Oh,
fair play.
And you can find me on MySpace. I think that's still in Vine. I do Vines.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah. I mean, are you doing YouTube and stuff as well?
I am. I'm on YouTube. It's the official Megs, one whole word on YouTube. On everything else, it's the _official _Megs. On TikTok and Instagram, so you can find me there.
Nice. Yeah. The thing I want, which we almost got, but we need some love for Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
I think that's one of those things that's gonna happen, and it might be like a pop-in in Deadpool.
Okay, I can see that happening.
I would love Squirrel Girl. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, like there's a lot of really cool characters that don't get a lot of solo love, on the screen. I mean, like a whole Shadowcat special, would just be incredible. Yeah, there's
and I think Marvel's doing a good job of restructuring what they're doing now with the specials that they're going to do. That's going to be like your intro stuff, so you don't have to do a 2-hour movie of just over serving a brand new character. So like 45 minutes, here's your one character, let's introduce it a little bit, boom, and then put them in movies later on. And then your Disney Plus shows are going to be lesser things. Like I could see a Squirrel Girl show and then put in like Secret Wars or things like that. So
Yeah. The thing I try to remind myself when trying to figure out like what characters could be coming next is Marvel knows how to take that mid of the pack, like kind of popular but middle of the pack popularity characters and bring those to the forefront because they know that people are always going to see or go, come out for the X-Men or, any other top tier characters that are in their catalog. So I always feel hopeful that whatever characters we see are going to be ones that haven't had a lot of love in the past. And that's something I actually love the most about Marvel is just that they look at everything as from the perspective of a fan. And that is just great.
what's funny, don't forget, it's technically the only thing they owned was non-popular things because
True.
Stan sold everything else to keep Marvel alive. And he had all these characters together because if Marvel had everything originally and started like a MCU,
Mhm.
it 100% would have started with the X-Men and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
I actually think it's funny because I'll have to see if I can dig up in the interview, but they were talking about how when they sold Spider-Man to Sony, they paid a few $1 million, and Marvel was like, if you give us like an extra $2 million, you can have everyone. And the CEO was like, who the hell cares about anyone but Spider-Man?
Mhm.
And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, that tracks. They were given lemons, they made lemonade. And I even had a hard time kind of thinking of like the obscure character I would want because a lot of the ones that I would want are here.
Yeah.
Like Werewolf by Night had no business being as cool as it was.
Who thought we'd get Man-Thing? Who thought we'd get Ted?
Yeah.
Man-Thing was going to be like is my character that I wanted to see that was super obscure. And then now I just want like a buddy cop show with those two just running around. I don't know.
I agree.
Another one for the longest time that I've always wanted was the Midnight Suns. And now if the minute that Blade shows up, I mean
If
when it's a when.
10 years from now is going to be a big win. I really, you know what? It was interesting. I did a video about this the other day and I was talking to the guys. I wouldn't be surprised if when we do get Blade, it's not Mahershala. I could see him bowing out, just being frustrated and then being okay with it. Because literally all we've gotten of him is a voiceover, like a very small voiceover.
True. But considering the fact that, well, as far as I understand, like they gave him the right to have rewrites whenever he wants for scripts, and like that is a lot of leverage to have on a studio like Marvel that has turned out, to quote Kevin, almost near perfect product. So, I mean, it's one of those things where for the payday alone, you stay, and what it is. So.
I don't disagree, but my thought is when a 2-time Oscar award winner is annoyed with a project.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So does it push it a little bit more? Like I think we're going to see some arguments. Between
Definitely.
them. Yeah.
Definitely.
Maybe, but like he's been in the family before, so
Do we have photo proof? We have photo proof.
I mean, him playing Cottonmouth was incredible.
Yeah,
and I feel like if he's a fan, I think he'll stay regardless. Because how long was The Rock trying to get Black Adam to be made? It's been like 15 years.
10 years. 10 years is the answer.
How long did it take Ryan Reynolds to get Deadpool to be made? And he's a huge Deadpool fan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How long did it take Channing Tatum? Never mind.
Never. And I love that he
Channing
actually made a
Tatum's so
statement like, I
salty about
can't
that.
watch Marvel movies because I'm so devastated. And it's like, devastated at what, bro? Like,
Yeah.
relax. It would have been horrible.
If the casting breakdowns are to be believed, there's a Gambit movie coming. But if that's to be believed. So
I have a whole breakdown of how I think they should do X-Men. Because I think after Secret Wars, we stopped doing Avengers and all that stuff. And now that they own X-Men, we do 15 years of X-Men and dabble a little bit, because now all the new characters they're starting to show us are mutants, and
Mhm.
they can still give us the shows and movies with the new characters, but then they can step away from it for 15 years and do a X-Men versus Avengers movie, an Apocalypse movie,
Oh my God.
a Doctor Sinister movie, like, or
Yeah.
Mr. Like, they can do that for 15 years and set up this whole mutant
Mhm.
world and not have to touch the IP that they've repeatedly touched now for 15 going on 20 years.
Yeah, and I like how you put that, because you can't have these characters are having character arcs, right? You have
Mhm.
they have 3 movies, and we go all the way up through Endgame, and you can't keep bringing them out because they can't keep having the same character arc.
How many family members of Thor are going to die repeatedly? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at what point do we go, okay, enough's enough?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you've got a point, but like, I still want my Thor and Hercules buddy cop movie. I just maybe love goes. I don't want to say missing. Maybe she's just like, bye, dad. I'm just gonna go do my own thing for a little bit. And he's like, I gotta go save my daughter from stupidity, and she's just like out with her friends. I don't know what it is, but it's Thor and Hercules. Roll it. Like, I just want that, because I think it would be really
Yeah.
funny.
It would be really funny. I mean, when it comes to Thor, I'm starting to feel like, it was the same thing that happens in TV shows. People start to become caricatures of themselves over a
Mhm.
long period of time, and I feel like Thor is starting to get to that point. Or maybe it's because we didn't have the levity there from him playing it off of Loki, maybe a little bit, but
I could see that.
uh, but
It
that
is
being said,
interesting how those two went, right? Loki's supposed to be the comic relief of
Mhm.
Thor, and then went very serious as a show. And now Thor without him is such a comedic show and less
Mhm.
dramatic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, let's jump into into She-Hulk. I just want to do a kind of a wrap-up conversation on the totality of the show. The notes and stuff that I sent you guys, feel free to go wildly off topic. That's just a basic outline. So just kind of want us to be open and have fun chatting about it. But you know what? First, do have a lightning round, because I have to judge you guys.
Can't wait to lose. Can't wait to lose.
No, so what are your top 3 MCU films? So we can kind of get a feel for who you are, what the stuff do you like, and all that stuff. What do you guys got?
Oh, you first.
Okay, Black Panther, Shang-Chi, and then Winter Soldier, easily, with number 4 being Love and Thunder. I
Okay.
I know I'm in the small minority on with Love and Thunder, but I think that Thor as a character really has grown through a lot of the trauma. He's very trauma informed, and so the way that if you watch the movie, this is me maybe copium, but like if you watch the movie and you look at how Thor interacts with the kids from a perspective of he knows what it's like to have lost everything, to be scared, to be traumatized, and the entire story is him just trying to make sure these kids don't get screwed up in the head from all this trauma. It plays so much more, it plays differently. And I appreciate Taika Waititi's understanding of trauma and childhood trauma and how that affects people, because it's a theme that goes throughout all of his work, and he nails it very well in Love and Thunder. So
Okay. But you have
We counting Spider-Man?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, because it's not my top 3. God, it's such a weird thing, because like they all kind of mesh together to some certain point for me of like rankings. But if I've got to like, I'm gonna put something on, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, which I think is very underappreciated,
Agreed.
and Eternals. I really like Eternals. I don't care what anyone says. I really like Eternals.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
And actually, to go to your point, I think it's funny how the more trauma that Thor goes through, the funnier he presents himself.
Yes, 100%. Yes. He does. See, I like that because I appreciate when you process trauma with humor. I will always
It's a
appreciate it
normal
because
human thing, right?
it is, but it's
Mhm.
also an incredibly brave thing to do.
Mhm.
It means that you've gone through it, you've come out the other side, and instead of not seeing any hope in it, there is a light at that tunnel at the end of the tunnel, and you can be able to cope with it. You've learned it's not going to overwhelm you. You can just cope, and you just keep going, move on. So I love Thor for that. He is, in my opinion, the mental health superhero. One of them, actually, one at least. So
All right, I like that. Yeah,
What's
and so
yours?
for me, I'm gonna go Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and then the third spot is I've been having a tough time kind of picking out my third spot because there's a few that are for me. I think there's a big gap between the
Mhm.
top two and everything else. Um, but if I'm going beyond that, then I would probably have to give it to Civil War. I've just really enjoyed all of the Cap films. I think
Mhm.
Cap has, even if you hate how things ended for
Mhm.
him, even if I hate how things ended, I just think overall his three films are just tops as far as watching in the internal struggles between people. Plus, there's the whole kind of like spy type aspect of it, like the vibes from it. You get those vibes in Black Panther as well. And I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure Black Panther 2 is probably gonna
Oh,
be
Black
be
Panther
part
2
of
is
my
about to shatter things.
Yeah.
yeah. So but yeah, that's where I'm at. But I always love that. That's why I don't ever ask for a full list. All I want to know is like the top three ones that you love, and you kind of get a picture of what people are into. Um, and anyone in the chat, feel free to chime in with yours as well. But all right, jumping into the show. What's your how do you guys feel about, like, I guess, She-Hulk overall and the whole discussion surrounding the show, how we critique
I
media and
love how
all that good
how
stuff.
they told all these like so-called Marvel fans to just
Yeah.
absolutely it just like they could just kiss it. Like they were just it was aware of what it was, right?
Yep.
It talked about
Yeah.
how women were treated. It talked about how the superhero woman was treated, and then it went on this. We know what we are, and we're going to do whatever we want to do. Like read a
Mhm.
comic, be aware.
Yep. Yep.
It was so hilarious how it just trolled people, and yeah.
That finale was everything.
So something I loved is throughout the arc of the show, they really gave those fans exactly the plot points that they wanted them to get so that they would be the actual people. It was beautiful. Jessica Gao is a genius. But the thing I love is they knew what they were, to your point. And I lost my train of thought because I just I can't believe that they did that. They did what they did.
Like the Daredevil walk of shame. Like they
Yep.
did
So
all
many
this stuff,
things.
and it was just like, oh, you want Daredevil? We'll give you Daredevil for all of
Yep.
3 minutes. Have fun.
And it's to the point where even the teasers were in service to the plot. Everything was in service to plot. The tweets that they were tweeting every week were in service to the plot. It was beautiful. When Todd gets Hulk powers, he literally looks like the Giga Chad meme, and
Yeah.
that absolutely sent me. I was just like, of course you would be. The fact that he mentions to Pug and you're hot is just like that's exactly, just beat by beat, bar by bar, it was playing them exactly for who they are. It was
And then everybody thought they
beautiful.
paused their stuff by accident. or went back to
Yep.
the homepage.
Yeah.
That was great.
that was brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, okay, so hopping in, and I feel like we're probably gonna spend most of the time on the finale, but let's just run through the beginning of the show, as well. Episode 1, how do you guys feel about how we were introduced to Jen and her power set and her going through the motions and stuff? I mean, I have a little bit of PTSD from being attacked for trying to explain. She didn't say she's better than the Hulk. Like, leave it leave it alone.
Woo-wee. Yep.
But I thought the first episode did a great job of
Mhm.
expressing exactly what this show was going to be. Someone who has these powers, doesn't want them to affect their life, but that's now a part of you and it's going to,
Mhm.
how do you guys feel?
I think the pilot did exactly what it was supposed to do. It gives us an origin story. It did give us the ability to see Bruce in a different light, which was really nice, especially because he doesn't get that many outings. He certainly can't have his own solo film because Universal. But it was nice to see that bit of character growth, to see how Bruce is doing with all of the loss and the pain, because we know how he is with his emotions. So that being said, it was really nice to see, and I feel like the pilot wasn't in service to Jen as much as it could have been, but I understand why they did what they did.
Okay.
I enjoyed that they don't treat us like idiots anymore.
Same.
We don't need 2 episodes to give a intro. Basically, it was like, here's this. We know everyone's going to talk about it in social. This is all we need to give you. That's what I loved about it. I loved like that it wasn't rushed, but it was rushed kind of. And then you got little bits and pieces of things, which is kind of like the entire series. But I just enjoyed that they're not treating us like idiots.
Same. That's my favorite thing. Andor's doing the scratching that same itch.
Yes.
Where we're just living in it. All right. So I kind of grouped together episodes, 2 through 4, where she gets the job, but they want her to be She-Hulk all of the whole time, and then she does the whole thing with Emil Blonsky, and then
let's just talk about the real thing about that whole that in between there, right? Megan Thee Stallion, fantastic. Loved everything
Loved
about
it.
it.
That was perfect.
Yep.
Also hosting SNL this weekend. Just saying, it cannot believe they did it. Love that they did it.
Yeah. I know that they said that Megan Thee Stallion wasn't going to be a cameo. Turns out she was just a cameo. That being said, season 2, maybe I would
hope.
love to see more of her.
Absolutely. And the other person in this first few episodes I want to see more of is Madison.
I'm out. I'm so out of Madison. I'm done. I live in Jersey. I get a lot of that. So I'm out.
It's funny because as soon as she came on the screen, I hated her.
Mhm.
And then it just kind of like chilled with it. And
Mhm.
I just, the thing I've been saying is I don't believe that like a man could have written the character of Madison. I feel like if I wrote her, everyone would hate her. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the fact that throughout the entire episode, Madison, with her Valley Girl accent, is taking the stereotype of the Valley Girl and completely just obliterating it throughout the entire episode. And I think that's why it works so well. And I like to think that somewhere deep down in hell, where she was kind of obliviously just conquering it, that she might come back in and has a lot of power for no good reason that we'll never get filled in on what happened there. I just like that idea of her just swinging through randomly for whatever reason.
She steps out of a portal holding a human heart, and you're like, when she's like, what are we watching? And you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, all right." But also we got a bunch of Wong in this, and I just love his character as
well. I love how they even touched on that at the end of the series, where everyone's been talking about like this is the Wong saga, and Blonsky brought it up, and then he brought it up. He's like, "Yeah, it's a good time right now." Like, yeah, it is a great time for you.
Which makes me
she's like,
wonder, like, is everybody self-aware and just only Jen and Deadpool are only aware of where the camera's at, or like what's going on?
Technically, we are all canon to the Marvel universe now, so that's
Mhm.
that's cool. Um, but yeah, and I love just a little like, oh, Wong's on again this week, so that gives us like Twitter armor,
Yeah.
and it did.
Yup.
I don't know. It's just funny. All right, so we jump forward episodes 5 through 7. Right, that's when Titania comes back and sues her for her name. That's the wedding episode, and then we also get the Blonsky's wellness retreat.
Did you see the funny behind the scenes with the wedding episode where after she gets punched, she turns and runs out of the wedding?
No, I didn't see that.
So there was a screen back there, so like bugs don't get in and like people don't like
Mhm.
come in and stuff like that. She forgot there was a screen like out of that door and turned and ran. And there's a video of her turning and running smack right into the screen and just falls down it. Like it's a whole thing.
I love
That's
it.
great.
I've
I
been
need to
there.
find that.
Oh, it's there. It's all over Twitter. Promise.
Uh,
Does
yeah.
not surprise me.
Overall though, Titania's character, I wish we got more with her. I don't. I felt
think we
like they
will.
were. I think we will as well. I mean, especially if we go into a season 2, which I think is very likely. I think they set it up and they established her like she was going to fill a certain role in the story, and I don't think we ever got to that. But yeah, maybe we will.
She's definitely, as of right now, they definitely did pull a bait and switch. And I can understand, people's frustration with that. But I also think that in the end, she's going to be not necessarily a villain to Jen. I feel like she's going to be more of a foil,
Mhm.
a la Q Picard, that
Yeah.
relationship there. But I want to see more of her. I agree, especially considering her story in the comics, her background. There's so much
Yeah.
there that they can dig into that is very relevant to today, especially with the dynamics of being an influencer that they added into her story. So there's so much there. It would be a shame if they didn't, pull that
Yeah.
into the show.
And Jamil is just a treasure. So I watched The Good
Absolutely.
Place for the first time like a couple weeks ago. So and I got through all of
So
it in
good.
like 5 days. So I was invested.
So good.
How about you, Adam? Any thoughts on those few episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy what they do with Jen in that kind of mid period of like introducing the family more and like
Mhm.
showing her life, I guess, what it's like to be a superhero. Because we always sit there and like, do they get paid for this? Or like, what do they do when they're not doing things? Like it's showing more of the background life of what Jen's trying to do and her realizing like, I don't know if I can just do my life and not be a superhero type thing.
Yeah, and they showed her just have the wellness episodes, retreat episodes specifically, having to like sit with those thoughts and feelings of
Mhm.
This identity that you've been avoiding since the beginning of the show. You just had to fight for to attain. And then that person of you was the hot one that your friend who was the bride was like, don't, I want the attention, so don't do that. And then you get that kind of like taken away. I really enjoyed that wellness retreat episode with having her actually vocalize the stuff that we've been seeing. We know she's going through it, but we get to watch her come through the other side of it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I liked it.
And then we jumped over to episode 8, which I just named She-Hulk Smash. The smash she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but rightfully so. Rightfully so.
I mean, it's Matt Murdock. I mean, what are you gonna do?
I mean, fair.
I mean, I'm at the point where just we're doing one-shot specials. Just give me a whole 58-minute rom-com movie, call it a one-shot. I don't know what they're doing. I don't care. They could
But
be
I love how
playing
upset
Scrabble.
everybody was about it, right? Like, oh, this isn't my Daredevil. It's like, it really is. You should read more.
Well,
They're like, we're Netflix Daredevil fans. Did you watch the show?
Yeah.
If to quote Foggy, if there is a beautiful woman with questionable character, Matt Murdock will, that's the line. I
It
mean,
just needed darker
My-
photoing and videoing, and then it would have been the same thing. Like, no different.
my
I think he wanted
favorite
the movie.
my favorite of the comments was people who was like, he's a good Catholic, he would never.
Oh Lord, did they not forget confessional exists?
He dresses up like a demon and punches people at night. Like, I just
Yeah.
it felt weird. And I loved Netflix's Daredevil. I didn't want to
Mhm.
get that. I wanted
Yeah.
to feel more like,
We
listen,
can still
if
get
you
a
read-
dark, like Daredevil, but like more comic accurate MCU style.
Mhm.
Yeah. And if you read comics, eventually you get a new writer, you get a new
Mhm.
artist, and it has a different feel. It's the same character, and that's okay. And if you didn't like this one, just know there's going to be another one, and you can go reread the one that you did like.
And Matt can be light and funny and also dark and broody, because people have both of those things at the same time. And so I think it's really funny to me how they're just like, that's not my Daredevil. Why? Was it because he was cracking jokes, or is it because you can no longer relate to him because you want him to have a one by one box of personality that's exactly like your one by one box of personality?
Yeah.
So
I mean, everyone's like, oh, we want more Daredevil. It's like, you're getting 18 episodes and they're an hour each. Shut up.
yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just remember
would
whose show
like-
this is.
Yep. Although I will say I'm pettily, I don't know if that's a word, wanting Jen to show up in at least 3 to 5 of them.
I think we'll see something. A crossover of some sort, her just popping in or something.
I mean, I need like her to like just take one of his episodes.
Yes. The more that they complain, the more episodes I feel like Kevin Feige could possibly justify,
Can we
putting
jump
her
to
in
that, by
just
the
to
way?
annoy.
The
Huh?
fact that it was a giant AI is great. It was a
The
steering
heck?
wheel from Wall-E. This is fantastic. Like,
It brilliant. I love the Kevin at the baseball hat.
Yeah,
face.
built in.
That is so funny to me. And apparently that is like the bridge too far, that he didn't understand all the mock-ups had like little baseball hats. He's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, that's what doesn't make sense to you? Okay, bud. Like, I don't
She
Okay.
just climbed out of Disney Plus, but the
Seriously.
robot can't wear a hat.
I will say this, right? I know that he said in the episode that they fixed that platform so that she can't break out again. But we know that Jen will just smash out of it whenever and wherever she wants to go find Kevin. She knows that he exists now. I would like her to walk through, Marvel Studios again, or what Disney headquarters at some point, and just walk past another AI named Dave with a black cowboy hat and who knows a little bit too much about Star Wars, and just have it just be a little reference to that.
but it needs to look like one of the
nod.
drones from like Empire Strikes Back
Yeah.
or something. Like, you know what I
Roger,
mean?
Roger.
Like, yeah.
I would love to see that happen.
That'd be amazing. Definitely.
Wouldn't it be funny if like a
definitely would.
post credit of Daredevil, one of the episodes, it just shows like the Daredevil icon, like all of Disney Plus sitting there with Marvel,
Mhm.
and then Jen hopping out of the Daredevil icon, holding her clothes, going back into the She-Hulk. That would be great.
That would be so good. But also at the same time, like I also I would love to see Daredevil be welcome. Like I saw somebody mention this on Twitter a couple of months ago, where there's just an icon of Daredevil going from a Fox folder, like Fox Studio folder, going into like a Disney Studio folder, and just you pan out and that's just Kevin the AI doing that, and Daredevil sitting there next to him is like very very good, very good. All right, and like that's your mid credit scene would be great.
Yeah, there's so with all these Marvel shows, I feel like a lot of them did. I mean, she called out that the Marvel formula that we've been
Mhm.
getting in all of these shows, and ever since WandaVision, all of these products like started out with a very unique vision. They were their own separate thing, but they all slowly merge into the Marvel formula, and she just called it out. Is this does that mean it's not going to happen anymore? Are projects going forward going to stick with the vision they start with?
I think at this point, I mean, 15 years of Marvel product being perfect and being formulaic, I feel like they have the audience to just swing for the rafters at this point. I know I can speak for myself when I say if Marvel says jump, I'll just ask how high at this point. I'm going to go see everything. So it's not like it's going to hurt. Just go for it. And I think that's probably going to benefit
Mhm.
because, I mean, if you don't take risks, you can't grow.
I like Jiffy peanut butter, but on occasional, Peter Pan's not bad, is what I'll say. You can
Mhm.
do the same thing over and over again, but look at Werewolf by Night, right? Small little special thing they're starting to do. It was fantastic. And watch, I think the argument right now and a lot of stuff going back and forth, they might want to have made Blade into a special
Mhm.
Mhm.
instead of a movie because that Werewolf by Night was by far the bloodiest thing Marvel's done.
Yeah.
So if they stick in that route and keep like the specials a little darker, I think that's where you'll get more of your Midnight Suns and
Mhm.
other characters like that. So I just really like what they're doing there, kind of introducing a different avenue that's not like just
Mhm.
movie after movie after movie after movie. And in between the movies is like an 18 episode thing and all this other stuff, I mean, minus like what Marvel Zombies, we're only getting 4 episodes for that, which is fine. But yeah, so I just
Mhm.
think them changing a little isn't a bad thing.
Right.
I mean, I feel like streaming platforms haven't quite nailed down exactly how their media should be structured.
Mhm.
And so because it's in between a TV show and movies, but it needs to be its own thing. It shouldn't be any longer than the story needs to be told. I'm a very big like advocate that some episodes could be 30 minutes and the next episode could be 45 minutes, and that's okay. It's what is this trying to
Mhm.
say. And if as long as we can nail kind of that down, then I think we're gonna move forward. Just like Werewolf by Night, just like you said, its own little mini thing.
45 minutes. Poof, this is what we need. Here's a little intro. Here he is. And we got 2 great characters now.
Yeah, I think a few of the previous projects being 6 episodes, I think that was a mistake. I think some
Mhm.
could have been longer, some could have been shorter. But I feel like they said we were going to do 6, and they just made that a decision. And if you don't have enough material, you just kind of have to plot around. And if you have too much material, you have to make everything happen in one episode. You know?
That was a lot like WandaVision. WandaVision was like apparently had that mystery,
Mhm.
what 10th episode or 9th episode, whatever it was. What were they going to do with it? What was that episode going to be? I think it was perfectly ended. And then now, like obviously, you and I are watching Andor. I think Andor does great. I think they give you your meat and then move on to the next episode. And they don't
Mhm.
cut it short, like where you're like, wait, what's happening? They give you enough to make you still want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed. And on the other side of that, you have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which had I think 2 more episodes that were cut, an episode or 2 episodes cut, and they could have done so much with those 2 episodes are missed. But that being said, I do think that having comic book media as a TV show instead of a movie is definitely a plus because comics are serialized. You definitely get The only time I ever notice like the small beats, the things that are setting up other characters to show up the magic of the MCU, that interconnected universe, is when I'm sitting down and I'm binging the movies. And unfortunately, because that's when you're picking up all those connections, right? And unfortunately, you just can't do that with all those 3-hour movies. So I'm really glad that we are getting shows and then big events as movies. I do think that is a plus. So
Nice.
You know what I
Yeah.
do wish they would do though? Speaking of comics, did either of you ever have the DC app? Like when it was a thing?
Briefly, yeah.
Do you remember what they used to do
about a
after
week and
every
a
show
half.
or movie that you would watch? At the end of it, at the very bottom, like on Netflix or everything else where it gives suggestions, it actually gave you the digital comic of the stuff that was on there, and you could just read it on your TV screen, stuff like that. So I'd love to see Disney do
Yeah.
kind of some like a partnership with Marvel Ultimate, like the digital app for the
Mhm.
comics, where it could link in if you have a membership, and you could read the comics just on no different on the TV that you do on your phone, because then it would help
That
with
would be
like
smart.
some of the stuff. And I know they're doing it with the barcodes that you can get through the
Yeah.
episodes. I just think with it being there, it'd be
Mhm.
better.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea. I
Yeah.
mean, another thing that I've been really enjoying is that while watching House of the Dragon, at the end of every episode, if you stick around, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is what we were thinking when we were making the episode. And this is what like there's
Yeah.
I
just
really
a
dislike
little-
that show. I just want to let you know. I
I,
really dislike.
that's why we love
I
having these
really
conversations.
dislike it. Like I still watch it every week, and there's certain things I like, but 78% of it I hate.
It is there is an element. I think something, not to get too off topic. I think
Yeah.
an element of it that I find interesting is I like Game of Thrones. It's the Kardashians, but Game of Thrones at the same time. And I know somebody might get mad at me for that, but like that's the thing I'm watching. I'm watching for the mess.
I'm
I
not
watch
going
it
to say
for the
what it
rest.
is, but I hate that everyone's okay with one thing and not okay with another thing.
Yeah,
And that's my
that-
problem with it, is like everyone's okay to ship one thing, but let's not ship the other thing because that's icky. And I'm like, no, that's the same ick. Like I don't know what your argument is, but yeah, I get you.
I was talking about this recently because the TikTok prompt of hey, what's trashy if you're poor but classy if you're rich, and you're like,
Yeah,
incest.
Yep.
yeah, right.
But
Daddy
I would-
Targaryen.
Yeah.
Look, listen. I blame Matt Smith, and the day that Matt Smith makes it into the MCU, I'm done for. If it's Matt Smith shaped, I'm very simple. Okay,
Matt Smith
that's
for
it.
Doctor Doom.
No, he's not
I
Romani,
can't-
so
I can't do
I
it.
know he's not.
So, but I can think of a few different characters that he could definitely be.
Who is your Doctor Doom fan cast? If you have
I don't have one.
one. Okay.
But
Well, you said he's not reminding, but that's one area where I don't feel like I know any remind. Like, not that we can't
Mhm.
find one.
Yeah, we can Google
But-
somebody probably.
yeah.
I love Doctor Doom so much, and I need
he
to know.
really
He's
needs
my
his own
favorite.
show.
He's my favorite
Yes.
Marvel character.
I honestly thought we would get some sort of nod to him, some sort of Easter egg. Maybe not him showing up.
We
but
will.
some sort of nod to him in the She-Hulk show, considering the fact that he's one of her clients. And she also goes up against him a few different times. He is throughout her comics, he is a pretty steady, antagonist throughout. Yeah, a lot of it.
Straw Hat put this in my head of when we could see a Doctor Doom Easter egg. It's going to be an Agatha. Imagine if Agatha starts doing like rewinds of like her life when she was younger. Technically, remember his mother is Wiccan, like she's a witch,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and maybe we see Doom's mother and Doom as a child, and then at the end of that, Agatha is also like, oh, I want to stay in New York just to make sure Wanda doesn't show up again or whatever. And she's like, I heard you're looking for a babysitter for your children, and it's the Baxter Building. Because
I like
Agatha in the
that.
comics
Yeah,
is the
you watched.
Mhm. This is
Yeah.
all Straw Hat Goofy's thing. I'm not taking any credit for this. He put this in my head.
Straw
I
Hat knows the stuff.
Mhm.
here's what I need is for Doctor Doom to show up at the end of Wakanda Forever, and for us to find out that um that there was everything that happened in Age of Ultron,
Mhm.
and then the blip right after that, and he steps into like the power vacuum that was, and I went Latveria just to be like bordering on Sokovia. And
Mhm.
during that 5-year period, he basically annexed part of it so that he could excavate any of the vibranium that was left over. And then he's just slowly working, and we're gonna get do more.
Do you know
That's
who
a
a
fun time.
Romanian actor is? That first person that popped up?
Who?
Sebastian Stan. I was
He's
like,
Romanian.
oh.
Romanian and Roma, if I'm not mistaken, aren't the same.
So I Googled it. He popped up. So
But
that was where I was at. I'm trying to get you one here.
who's that guy on Twitter? I follow him.
Because now I want an answer for, because I feel like that's everybody's answer, right? Like you give I'd like this person to be Doom, and they're like, they're not Romanian. It's like, okay, who?
Yeah,
And no, and there's never an answer to the who. And I'm like, now I'm interested to see who we
yeah,
have.
and and I'm sure we can find someone. And but yeah, that's what we have. Dare to Entertain is saying, and Romani is the one requirement for his fan cast.
Mhm.
But so that kind of gets rid of my fan cast. But for some reason, I can't think of his name at the moment. My fan cast was the guy who plays Scarecrow in Batman Begins.
Yes. Also
Cillian
Peaky
Murphy.
Blinders.
Yes, him and Peaky Blinders. I can see that energy going into like the
Love
Doom
Peaky
character,
Blinders.
So
and
good.
I think he's a phenomenal actor, and so I would love to see him in stuff.
Not talked about enough, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I am only in the very beginning of it, so I can't really
you're
talk
in
about
for a
it. So
treat.
yeah,
If you've
You're in
never,
for a
did
treat.
you watch Sons of Anarchy?
no.
So
I
it's
watched
English. It's literally English Sons of Anarchy, but written better.
Okay,
Yes. And in the olden days.
Yes.
Sons of Anarchy was one of those shows that my friend was watching, and so I'd always walk in while he was watching. So I could never watch it. He was my roommate at the time, but I'd walk in and be like, "Did the mom from Married with Children just slap a girl with a skateboard?"
Yes.
And you're like, "Yeah, that happened. All right, cool beans." But yeah, I mean, so bringing it all back to She-Hulk. What do you think we might see in the season 2?
Ooh, at least what I hope to see, more Titania.
Yeah.
I think at this point she's done something to get herself arrested. I would love for them to bring in the Big House. I think that would be
Ooh.
interesting, especially considering the fact of Ant-Man and Quantumania being right around the corner. But I would love to see that happen, and I would love for Jen to take a special interest in people who are in the Big House and also on the raft, because I feel like there's a lot of characters that we could get back. Hellcat being one of them, and her and Jen have a great friendship, and I need that. Also, Fastball Special with Hellcat, I need that as well. Also with Matt Murdock, but I digress. So yeah, that I would like that to happen in season 2.
That would be really cool. I loved on in episode 8, that was the kind of court cases that I really want to see happening.
Mhm.
On it, where it's someone who has powers or in that case he bought the suit, misused it, and there's a lawsuit. I think there's a lot of really wacky stuff that has to be going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe of just people who were like, my neighbor kid got superpowers when like he's a mutant, and when his powers like manifest, he blew up my car. Like, but that's not covered by insurance. What do I do? You know, like that's a thing that could happen.
Mhm.
Didn't they have a show like that on what was it, ABC or Fox?
Yeah, Powerless, right?
No, where it was just maybe I don't remember. It was almost like
I
The
like
Office,
Powerless.
but like all they did was like fix New York basically as they as like the superheroes destroyed it. I want to say it was like a one season thing. It didn't do well and went away. Well, like that other show,
It
Inhumans.
might have been, yeah, it might have been Powerless that you're thinking of. But yeah, I mean, more stuff like that, because we got Damage Control that's running
Mhm.
around, running amok, doing stuff in Miss Marvel and Spider-Man, and I'm sure there's alien tech that's rolling
Mhm.
around. I would love to see her also prosecuting other people who have found Wakandan spears and stuff off of pulling
Yeah.
them off of the battlefield that happened there. There was a whole. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, speaking of Damage Control, I would like Damage Control to get its own show or special, because I'm gonna need Kevin Feige to explain to me how an insurance company turned into the cops. Could somebody please explain that one to me? Because I still can't wrap my head around that one.
Agent 13.
Okay.
I think it's what's her name? End of Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Remember she's talking on the phone. Yeah,
Sharon,
Sharon.
okay.
Sharon Carter. I think it's Sharon. I think Sharon's working for somebody, or like the Thinker or something like that, and like she's running Damage Control in the background.
Would not surprise me.
See, that,
By the way,
that'd be
were you
dope.
thinking of Jonathan Bailey from Bridgerton? Because he's Romanian.
He is?
Yeah, it showed up that he is.
Huh.
I could see
Did
that
not know.
because
I could
he
see
is
that
dreamy.
He is dreamy and he's charming.
Mm-hmm. Two Things
Okay.
Doom is very much up.
Very much.
Another thing I want is for her to like try King, but then also like sees him with his shirt off and it's still Jonathan Majors, and just I think the show is just ripe for some perfect comedy and commentary on the MCU from the fan perspective. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm hoping for.
Do we see her again in a show before we see her in a movie, or will we see her in a movie before we see her show?
I'm thinking show then movie.
I think if we're
Sorry.
going to see her
Yeah.
in just a movie, it'll be Secret Wars, because somebody brought up to me, or Kang Dynasty. Somebody brought up to me a very good thought. Kang Dynasty could be, yes, it's an Avengers movie, but it could be a young Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Like Kang already has everybody, and like they're trying to put it together and figure out what's up, and then they all get transported at the end of it for Secret Wars.
I can see that.
Man. Okay. Yeah. I mean, time jump, and then you have all of
Almost
them
like a West Coast
as adults.
Avengers, Young Avengers kind of mashup type thing.
Yeah, and we just got Scar in, which was the weirdest introduction.
Oh my god.
First of all, I love how they Fast and Furious does that whole thing, because that is the cookout at the end of every Fast and Furious movie, and then bringing in, and when Dom would introduce his son to everybody, that is literally the same
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, they really said copy pasta there. But
I was waiting for them to address it, to actually say it, but I was like, okay, maybe it's not intentional. I don't know.
Do we think that Scar is going to take the spot of Braun? That they're gonna kind of
I think
separate out
whoever
those
legally,
characters?
if Marvel legally owns him, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Because think about it, like what of the Hulk property does what Universal own?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that some of it, or is it like just Hulk? And then, because if Scar's by himself with Marvel, then yeah, it's going to be a Scar
Yeah.
project with Hulk on the back end, very much like Thor.
True.
That's a good question, because I feel like Scar is a recent character, and I think Scar probably
not
was
have that-
created.
much of a storyline in the comics either.
Doesn't. And if Marvel owns it, that's the best thing because then they can do whatever they want.
True.
Because technically it's supposed to be Hulkling, but let's sub it.
You know, although I can see Hulkling being in the Marvels and them splitting his power set, kind of redoing everything so that he and Scar aren't getting mixed up. And then I can also see them go Amadeus Cho and almost like rewrite that story completely differently, because those rights are up in, I think, next year. Those Universal rights. So I can definitely see that happening, but I feel like what they're trying to do now is split the characters up a little bit, because those three always got mixed up for each other because they're very similar.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to have Scar be more like Braun, because Braun is essentially just baby Hulk. And now you have legitimately baby Hulk. So I can see them going that route.
I just feel bad they gave him LeBron's hairline. That I feel horrible for him. Poor man.
That's terrible. No, but you look and you see that it's shaved, so it's like
I know it is a look. It's a
Yeah.
current event. It's a current look, and it is a real haircut. And everyone's over there knocking him like Stan gave it the haircut because he couldn't see, like he said in Thor. Blah blah blah. I'm just saying. Hey, good for Thor, or good for Hulk to go out there and not be a deadbeat dad, right? Go get his son. Good for him.
Yeah.
Mm.
That must have been a weird conversation though when the Sakaran ship finally arrived and was like,
Yeah.
let's
Well,
you
remember
owe
time
some
works
child
differently.
support.
Like he just left too. Like that 18 years went like that.
I mean, we did get a 5-year time jump, plus how much time from Thor Ragnarok. That being said, I would love to see how they try to address his backstory, because it is weird, to put it mildly. I mean,
He
was
had
born in a
weird
cocoon.
planet plans and
You know, it was in a cocoon. He was born from a cocoon when the cocoon fell into a lava pit. I don't know how. I'd be like, that's the most unweird way.
So he's House of Dragon birth. Like basically, it's like
Basically,
just the same
yeah.
thing. But
Basically, yeah.
and I feel like Hulk was lucid enough in Ragnarok where he probably would have mentioned if he had a wife, but maybe he was just out there knocking boots. Maybe we're gonna.
I mean, look, we need a champion, right? Like you celebrate like a champion every day. I guess I don't know what to tell him. Like,
Yep.
he's living
Hulk
that
out there being
Daredevil
a
life.
thought. Damn.
Okay.
Okay, this is kind of a random question, but when Daredevil
752.
came up on what was dropped on Netflix, do you think if that same show we just transported it to right now and put it out weekly, do you think it would get a good reception?
No. Not at all.
No,
I rewatched it. It's not that good.
No.
That's
And
my
even
hot
here's the
take.
thing: even if it was good originally and they
Yeah.
brought it, people would still bitch about it.
I think they would have to. I should say the show as is, when you replay it now, some of it aged like milk. But like, but I feel like if they wrote it now, still with the dark moody themes, I think it would be fine. Some of the story beats I could do without.
I just remember binging it and having entire episodes where I felt like they just ordered too many episodes and they're like, I don't know what we're gonna do with this one. And I feel like people would riot if it was 1 week. So maybe all the stuff needs to just drop at once, and I think people might react differently to them. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't like the drop all at once property. I hate because then it loses its lack. You know, like we sit there, we watch everything. If you don't watch everything, we ruin it for everybody. And then like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, it's out at 3. I've got to watch it at 3, or else I'm going to see everything as I go, and then I lose that. Oh my god, I can't believe this. You know, like I just think it needs to be episodic, and that's what I love. This is the one thing I do love about House of Dragons. Is it is an event that happens at 9 o'clock every night. Well, 9 o'clock for me, but 9 o'clock every night. You can only watch it then. Goes live then. Everyone watches it at the same time. That's what I
Yeah.
love. And it's such a crazy thing that that's not still kind of happening with certain big things.
The whole concept of like ads coming out at midnight is just is crazily
Wild.
stupid.
Or 3
Like
a.m.
even movie theaters don't do that anymore because they're like, oh, it comes out on Friday. No, the first showing is at 3 o'clock on Thursday.
Do you know what the very first Thursday afternoon or the first Thursday actual non-midnight movie was?
The first one I saw was Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
It was
And
the third Pirates of the Caribbean. The first one to
Really?
be shown on a Thursday afternoon.
Are you freaking kidding me? Because I saw that at midnight, and the scene where it just goes all white and you're in a weird
Flashbang out.
purgatory. Like my brain couldn't handle it at midnight. And
It was the first one to be on a Thursday afternoon.
yeah, I remember walking into Amazing Spider-Man 2
Mhm.
at like 6 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
But there was people lined up to see it at midnight. And I'm walking past these people in line, and I walk into an empty theater. I was like, what's going on? But like, why can't we do that? Or worst case scenario, let's do midnight Eastern Standard Time.
Mhm.
Yes, that'd be fantastic. So I don't have to be up at 3 a.m. That'd be so great.
Yeah.
But awesome. Okay, so thank you guys so much for coming on and chatting with me. I want to make a lot more like Marvel comic content because I do all of it. I'm a huge nerd.
Oh, don't invite me. I'm a home decor person. That's all the videos I do.
Mhm.
Well, it's beautiful. The green casting, the R2D2
What color do you want? What color? Actually, it's a popcorn bucket.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was a pretty penny at the theater. I can tell you that. The head is actually a drink holder, like you put liquid in it, and the body is the popcorn.
That's cool. I missed out on the Thor Mjolnir ones. That really made me sad.
I might
they-
have an
they
extra
ran
one here
out.
for you.
Ooh,
I
okay.
might.
But yeah, let's go around. Do you guys have any closing thoughts on She-Hulk? Anything else that you guys want to plug that you guys are doing that you want us to check out? And then once again, where we can find you and your awesome content. But Karis first.
Yeah. I don't have anything to plug as of right now. I'm just, like I said, I'm happy to be here. But you can find me at Isdainty, ITSDAINTI on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. So yeah, that's all for me.
Awesome. And I love your content. And that's one of the big reasons I like to make these is because there's
Thanks.
people I just want to talk to about stuff. And like, you know what? We're gonna record it
Aw.
because it's gonna be good to hear. So
Thanks. I appreciate that.
how about you, Adam?
I don't, you know me, I hate plugging things. I will plug one thing and one thing only, and it has nothing technically to do with me, but it's my boys. Tomorrow, Daily Kazoo, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're having a guest on, and we are actually talking about She-Hulk as well. But normal podcast weekend show, talk about everything happened this week. It is the Daily Kazoo on the Tube.
Awesome. All right. The Daily Tube. I will definitely try to hop in there and check it out myself. But yeah, thank you guys once again for coming out. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully we get some more awesome Marvel projects and stuff, and we can have more of these conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Do you need a cheer
Alright.
goodbye? Do you need an audience? I got you. Ready? Bye, everybody.
I love that you have the blue